Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is the Geschützwagen E100. It's the Tier 10 German SPG. This one's located on the north spawn of Steps, and it's under the command of Oxagon of Enjoy. And he's got 3 marks of excellence on the barrel of his howitzer. Game on. Well, the reason we're recording this video is mainly down to something that happens in this video twice in the replay, I should say. It's a 21 centimeter howitzer, which with the standard HE is capable of doing 900 alpha if it penetrates, 53 millimeters of penetration and 11.4 meters burst radius. With the HE rounds, that's non-stun HE, 1200 alpha, 66 millimeters of pen, but the damage radius goes down to 6 meters. And with the arm piercing rounds, you have to get a direct hit, but you can do 640 alpha, and you've got 372 millimeters of pen. That's going to be very important later on. 372 millimeters of pen. That's an awful lot. Okay, he's found his firing position. He's getting ready to go. Starting off with standard HE, looking towards the center gully that runs north to south through the map. Expecting a light tank to turn up there. There is only one light tank on the enemy team. It's an EBR 105. Not spotted yet, but a number of enemy tanks have been spotted directly to the south of us. And we've got 3 enemy tanks bunching together here. So obviously he's going to line the shots up to try and make sure that one of them takes the hit. They're all bunching, rounds out. Oh, that was a really good shot. He hit 3 tanks with 1 round. He got a direct hit on the AMX M454 and he splashed the Cranbarn and the IS-7 for 197 and 19 hit points respectively. And they all got stunned as well, but no stun assists so far. But it's early days. Now the standard reload for this Arty, 37.39 seconds. He's just spotted a Heshbarn there. And yes, we called it a Heshbarn because we don't like using the rude word because children are watching this video and we shouldn't repeat words that we don't want them to use in public. .339 off the last round for the Cranbarn. He's almost reloaded. I said 37.39 seconds is the standard. What's Oxagon got for his Arty? 29.38, I think that said. Oh, no, that was a good one because he did get 293 and he stunned the AMX M454 and he took a massive 997 point hit from one of our teammates as he crossed the gap. And so we picked up the stun assist off that. I think it might have been the Death Star on our team that did that. Okay, we're almost loaded. Going for the 268. Rounds out. That's a kill. Yeah, he didn't have enough hit points. He was kind of desperate, actually, to do that. Wasn't really going to work very well. You can see that the enemy Arty is focusing on our heavy tanks just as we're focusing on the enemy, which is the reason why there's no counter battery going on, simply because it's too important to focus on the tanks at the moment. On the other side of the map, by the way, there's an awful big confrontation going on, and the enemy seems to be doing rather well. Rounds out the Cranbarn. Another direct hit, 375 this time. He's now down to a 1 shot. The IS-7 tries to cut it across, decides against it. In fact, that was quite a wise decision because he did take a hit, but it actually hit the tracks. Now, we're almost reloaded, but there's an awful lot of tanks, as I say. I keep saying they're over on the east side, and we've only got a Jaeger up there now, and I think he's about to get wiped out. He's certainly going to get surrounded. And in fact, actually, he has gone. The Object 140 and the enemy team managed to get a kill. And now we've got, whilst we're still focusing over here, we need to be focusing on the other side of the battlefield. And yes, Oxagon suddenly noticed that there's a kind of shortage of our guys over there. We do have a Leopard near our cap area, and our Batchat 155-58 is making moves to the east, or to the west rather. That's a direct hit on the Object 140 for 270. But the enemy has 2 Object 140s in that area. As I say, they do have the FB215B, which is a heavy tank, a British heavy tank, tier 10. It's a premium as well. And they do have some other tanks as well. So, yes, things are getting dicey. Good job that our Leopard 1 is a sniper tank, so he's probably enjoying himself sniping at those enemy tanks they tried to move. And all we got was some stun on the IS-7 out of that one because it was too far away. The enemy FB215B has got very, very close, and I'm going to freeze the replay in a brief second because you can see the first of 2 instances where Wargaming are basically pulling a fast one. Okay, watch this. He lines the shot up on the FB215B. Remember, that's a heavy tank with a rear turret. Rounds up. And he hits it with an armor-piercing round, and all it says is critical hit. Critical damage. Now, we're going to run that back. Okay. There you see it again. He's loaded and lined the shot up. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to see this up close and see where it strikes the Death Star. Well, it's not a Death Star, sorry, it's a 215B. We're going to see what actually happens. Now, here's the tank. You can see at this moment, he's actually looking up at the Leopard, but when the shell strikes him, his turret's actually facing a different direction. Now, I'm going to slow it down so it's going at 1/16th speed. I pulled back so you can actually see the round coming in from the GW. We'll speed it up just a little bit. Now we'll show you the armor configuration for the FB215B so you can see where the armor is actually weak after this video. Okay, we've loaded. Back so you can see exactly where it strikes him. He's just lining the shot up. There's the round out. You can see it flying through the air. It's coming in this direction. We slow it down, and I think you can now see there's the actual shell in mid-flight. Yep, that's a 21 centimeter shell with 372 millimeters of pen, and it's about to impact on that FB215B. So we're going to run it forward slightly. And there you see the impact point was actually on the side of the turret of this FB215B. So I run it slowly. Okay, so you can see the impact point side of the turret. So if I take that up, you can see it's exactly on the side of the turret. You see that little mark? That's the last moment we see before it actually strikes the target, which shows you that it actually was on the side of the vehicle. Now I'm going to take you to something unusual. Okay, this is the collision model for this vehicle, and I'm going to take you to the live version. Okay, on the live version, where that impacted, the effective armor was 170.6 millimeters, or around about there, or even 182. But remember, it's being struck with a 372 millimeter pen German round from a GW E100 with a 21 centimeter caliber, and it's hitting the side of the turret. That would go straight through that FB215B. No doubt about it. If I go back to the collision model, you can see it actually hits fairly weak armor. It's graded, it's heavy at the front. But on this part where it actually did strike, just around about there, it's only about 174. And all Wargaming said that that was a critical hit. Now, they're really kidding us because no way was that a critical hit. That would have gone straight through the armor on that FB215B. But anyway, that's just the first one that we're going to contest and challenge with this video. We'll go back to the actual impact. You can see it there again. The actual point, and I've run this forward slowly. You can still see right on the side of the turret. In fact, it more looks like at the base, around about there, that it impacted, where it's only about 160 millimeters. But you can see exactly what I'm looking at. It is the exact point of impact. Okay, we stopped the replay there. We're going back to the GW E100, and we're going to run the speed up again to normal speed. Because this is not the first one. As I said, there is another instance where Wargaming are really basically pulling a fast one. You can see he's still aiming at the FP215B. He's almost loaded. Okay, he's trying to get a shot. Nothing yet. There's the FP215B, but he's got no shot because the red line extends from the rocks. But look at this. We've got another contender. Yes, it's an FP4005, the Heshbon. Fires the round in. Armor not hit. Now again, we're going to run that back so you can see the vehicle again. I'm going to watch that shot and see it actually impact the target. Okay, we're running the replay forward. He sees the Death Star. He changes his aim, lines up the shots, and there we stop and freeze frame because now, again, we're going to free camera. We're going to look at that FB4005 as it gets struck, and we'll see where it gets struck and then compare that to the crash model, or the collision model as they call it. Okay, there we go. There's the enemy Heshbon. He's put a smiley face on the front of the turret, which is actually quite nice. I've done that to one of several of my Artys actually. Okay, right, well, we're going to run this forward slowly. We'll hear the shell being fired. It's coming from over that direction. The rock you can see right in the center of the frame is actually obscuring where the GWE100 is. But we're going to hear that bang as the shell's fired. There it is. Okay, rounds out, as I would say. And there you can see it coming in at very high speed towards this Heshbon. Perfectly aimed. Absolutely bang on target. We stopped the replay at that point. And there's the shell in mid-flight. Again, another 21 centimeter Morse cannon shell actually firing at this FB4005. I'm going to speed up the replay just a tad there. Watch the shell impact. And there's the impact point. Unfortunately, we can't show it as clearly as some other players can. But there you go. There's the actual mark showing where the impact point should be. Now remember, the shell's actually coming in from here. And if we're looking down, we're saying, okay, well, it looks to me like that was a direct hit on the turret area. We know it hit the turret because we heard the bang as it hit the side. It looks to be above the actual hull, which is Centurion hull. And it looks to be in line with that very, very thin turret. So I think that was a direct hit. And even if we zoom in and out at that point to see where the shell was coming from, yes, you can see that the shell definitely hit the side of the Heshbon turret. Okay, now we do have, I'll go to it. There we go. That is the Heshbon, and his gun's pointing exactly the same way, or at least slightly off. I'll change that a bit there. There we go. That's the turret as it should appear in the video. We've just checked that. Okay, I did something I shouldn't have done there, but we'll go back to the Heshbon again quickly. You can see the tracer shell of the shell coming in. Kind of cool, actually, looking at this, seeing the tracer, seeing exactly as it hit the target. Okay, there's the impact point, slightly off to one side. The turret's slightly turned, but you can see exactly where it impacted. So it's actually around about here. Think about there. Maybe slightly back, round about there. That's the impact point. 14 millimeters effective armor at that point. 100% chance that a GWE100 shell would go straight through that armor. If we switch to the live model, everywhere on the FP4005 would be penetrated by an armor-piercing round from a GW E900. They would go straight through. There is nowhere on this tank that the armor would not be penetrated. None at all. The angle, everything was okay. It was effective, but it would have gone straight through regardless. And if we look at the live model, yep, everywhere. Go back to the collision model. See, very thin armor here. The Centurion hull is actually slightly thicker, just around about here. But remember, the shell was actually impacting around about there. And all Wargaming said was armor not hit. Who are they kidding? That was a definite hit. That should have creamed that FB4005. These rounds have got 372mm pen, but 640 alpha. This tank, at the time it actually got impacted, if I pull back out, had 1,850 hit points. It should have taken it, at least for the alpha, which should have been, as I said, 640. At the very least, it should have been that. If he'd hit it with the non-stun HE, it would have been considerably more damage, possibly 1,400 hit points of damage. But that was a definite impact, and you can see it from here. As you move in, you can see it even more clearly that that is the impact point. So you know that that was a definite hit. And it definitely made the noise, and you can see the sparks coming off the hull. No doubt about that. That was an impact. So what we're going to do now is run the replay to normal speed and go back to the GW. And sadly, I'm afraid it's curtains for Oxagon in the next few seconds. Yep. Before he can shoot again, he was still puzzled as to why that shell didn't impact him. He was out the game. And there's only 3 tanks left on our team. They're soon to die as well. There's one. There's another, and there's the third and last. So that shell, both of those shells, should have impacted and creamed the tanks they hit. And yet Wargaming is trying to say they didn't. Here's the end of battle stats. Well, Oxagon managed to get a bruise medal out of that game, even though it's a losing one. He managed to get at least 8 critical hits in that game. To get the bruise, you only need 5. Got a win rate of 1,493, which is good, but not spectacular. And if we look at team scores, we can see he only got 1,880 hit points of damage. And so therefore he was beaten by quite a few tanks on the enemy team. I think you can see it's actually 7 tanks on the enemy team. And there's also 4 tanks on his own team. So he's actually in 12th on damage. But that's still fairly good because 1,880 is not a small amount. When it came to kills, well, he didn't get a huge amount of those either, just the 1 kill in the game. 3 went to the FP4005 on the enemy team. 2 went to, and that's, by the way, the same one that he hit. That is the exact same one, because there was 2 on the enemy team. 2 kills went to the Object 140s, and also to the FP215B, and also to our 113 on our team. And when it came to base XP, he only got 254 on that. The enemy team coming off best. He fired 10 rounds, got 7 direct hits, no penetrations, although he should have penetrated them with the armor piercing twice. 14 splash, damage of 1,880, all of it at more than 300 meters, received 2 hits and was out the game. 7 enemy vehicles were damaged, 1 was killed, 1,200 hit points of stun assist off 13 stuns. He made a loss on the game of 40,677 credits and 381 positive XP. But really, this replay is all about those 2 shots which should have penetrated the enemy tanks. First, the FP215B on the side of the turret, and the other one on the Heshbarn. Again, side of the turret. Should have easily gone through, according to the crash models on Tanks GG, and yet they did not. So I think Wargaming is pulling a fast one. they're trying to say, oh, use the armor-piercing rounds, that's why we put them in. They're not working. They should be penetrating the target, and yet Wargaming is saying, oh, that was an armor not hit. Yes, it was. Very much hit. And yet you're not giving the credits where it should be. In fact, this is a common complaint with all Arty, where they're asking us to use armor piercing or trying to suggest that we use armor piercing, but they're not giving the correct values for those armor piercing rounds. If you get hit with a 24 centimeter shell, it should absolutely annihilate a tier 10 tank. Back before the 18.0 update, I think that was way back about 6 years ago, I watched the Salty Jedi himself annihilate a Chinese tier 10 113 with one shot, one armor-piercing round, right through the engine bay, wiped him out completely in one round. And I've still got that one on tape, would you believe it? But the fact is that Wargaming are just not giving the correct values for these shells. They should be doing similar damage to the Heshpan and to the Death Star, and yet they're not doing the same values. Yes, we do know the shells are flying slightly slower, but they are very big shells, much bigger calibers than the 183mm guns on the Heshpan and the FP215B and the Death Star. Well, actually, the FP215B's got a 120, if I remember correctly. But they should be getting equal values. They should be getting around 750 alpha easily or more, even though the shells are actually going slightly slower. But there you are. That's the reason why we did this video, to show that Wargaming are basically taking the proverbial by not giving us the values that we should be getting on these games. Thanks for watching.